Okay, Reishis Chochma, we've hit a milestone. This is the 30 seconds session. Gematria Lave. We hope should have a Lave Tahor from all this learning. And it's also Gematria covered. So I guess we can give ourselves a pat on the back and congratulate ourselves. We reached this landmark, 32 Shiurim on Reishis Chochma. Okay, without further ado, we're in Perek Revi of Shara Yira. This is Ois Hey. Let's go back to what we were talking about. Right, that what we're talking about is how a sin is, aside from being evil and deserves a penalty, it really gunks up, and then it blackens your neshama, and therefore, even if b'shogeg, you're not as punishable, and let alone onus, you're not punishable at all. But it's still it leaves a mark. Not, so that's what we were talking about, and that's what he's picking up for. Let's go back to what we're talking about. From the medrash that talks about how the body is like the city dweller that doesn't know better, but the soul is like the someone from the king's own palace that really should know better. Right, so Echad Meliosa Nafsha Ruchani spend Melch, where always talk about Melch Elyon. Vavil Chatam Shog, and then Ashkilo of Arba Mejigas Rabbit Ola Zadon. Right, so now so aside from the body having done the act of sin, but the body is like a peasant that doesn't, the body could be more excused, but the neshama that animated the body was involved in sin. That's the neshama comes from the palace of the king. Right, and the neshama should have been more aware of the glory of the king and not even sinned unintentionally, and therefore, if it sinned unintentionally, the soul it gets total the liability is if it sinned intentionally, the soul, not the body, but the soul gets has to pay for as if it's sinned intentionally. So, similar to what Chazal say, when you make a mistake in your learning, that could lead to doing acts, wrong acts b'mezid, because you think it's the right thing to do. So you're not even doing it by accident. You think it's the right thing to do. You're doing it on purpose. So, the neshama is like the shugag of the neshama is like shugag's Talmud, right? That's the liability. The soul making a mistake is like making a mistake in learning that could lead to. It is dealt with as harshly as if it's, done intentionally. So what the mention goes on, so Eskon mitzvahs, when the Torah talks about shogeg, the Torah literally reads, if you do by mistake and you do not do any of the, all the mitzvahs, right? So now, so kol mitzvahs means any of the mitzvahs. That's the way we conventionally understand it, and that's the pashut pshat. But it could be read that, when you do anything b'shog, as if you violated all the mitzvahs, if you want to read the pasuk very literally. So now, and that's what the Medrash says, that's the way it is from the vantage point of the neshama. The neshama should know better, right? So you Masha Amru Baraya Mehimna. So now to actually back up, this drush that doing shog as if you didn't do or if you violated all the mitzvahs could be explained with the Raya Mehimna, which was the Zohar, that was written under the influence of Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama, which generally is Tamei Mitzvah Uva Parshas Naso. This Raya Mehimna is in Zohar Parshas Naso Kuchavdal Ramalf Zelashono. This is what the Zohar writes over there, right? The Raya Mehimna. Anyone who does even one mitzvah like you're supposed to, as if he did all the ramach mitzvahs asay. There's not one mitzvah that's not inclusive in some way, shape, or form of all the ramach mitzvahs asay. Ad kan l'shono. Right? By the way, as soon as I just read this Zohar, I immediately thought of the Rambam, and in my opinion, this could be another proof that the Rambam had the Zohar, of which there are many. Maybe Rav Reuben Margolius brings in his legendary Kuntras Harambam Va'Zohar. The Rambam has a interesting shita, interesting, gives hope on the one hand, gives Yiush on the other. His pirush on the famous Mishnah and Makos. Chaim ben Akasha ben Ratzah Koshu Zakso Fikach Berlem Torah Shemar Hashem Chafetz Laman Siko Yutrav Koshu want to give more schut to Am Yisrael, right? And therefore he increased. He gave them a lot of Torah mitzvahs, right? So now the Kasha would ask is, you want to help make it easier for a person to pass a test, give them an easier test, not a harder test. So you want to zakal so want to give us pachot Torah mitzvahs, not more Torah mitzvahs, which makes the challenge greater. So says the Rambam, an interesting word over there, and he builds it up from his pshat, his understanding of a particular Gemara. He says that, one mitzvah done right, just one mitzvah done right one time could bring a person olam haba. We're going to address this also in our forum on Yud Gimel Ikrim, how this squares with what the Rambam says. Just believing Yud Gimel Ikrim could also give you olam haba. We're going to discuss that B'li Neder today as we resume that series also. Okay, but Al Kobin Rambam Shita, one mitzvah done right, but done right means done perfectly, with lishma, with a certain element of Mesiras Nefesh, with Ava and Yira, and it's very hard. And think about all the mitzvahs that you do. Is there one you've done perfectly? You didn't run, and he hit Teirim, and it was, and you did it because you felt like doing it, or you did for ulterior motives, or like one mitzvah done perfectly is enough to get to bus. Out of Taryag, different mitzvahs, you'll do one right one time. You give a person like a whole smorgasbord of mitzvahs to choose from. So he'll get one of the different Taryag mitzvahs, one of all the many different ones. He'll get one of them right one time. And that's enough, right? And that's enough. So on one hand, it's a message of hope, but on the other hand, how many mitzvahs can you say you did like that? Right, that's what he understands. That was a dialogue between two Tanoim. Klum ma'aseh bo liyadcha. Did you ever do anything right your whole life? And Chanina ben Trad, you had to think hard and said, yeah, one time. One time, the most Purim got mixed up with the most tzedakah. I gave the whole thing to tzedakah. That says Rav Yossi said, oh, wow, you're lucky. I wish I could be like you. That's one thing done one time. That means perfect. Not relying on het Teirim and not, and Lemahadra with Ava and Yira Mesiras Nefesh. And I as soon as I read the Zohar, I heard the Rambam in the Zohar. Just one mitzvah like you're supposed to. It's as if you were Mekayim all 248 mitzvahs aseh. Because one mitzvah is inclusive of all mitzvahs. Right, that would explain, because someone would ask on the Rambam, how could one mitzvah be? You have to be metakin your whole tzelem. Well, one mitzvah is inclusive of all mitzvahs. It's like the body. It's like the DNA of the whole body is in every cell and cell and cell. So even a liver cell, a cell of your liver, has the DNA of the heart and the lungs. It's like a little bit of a mystery. The biologists talk about how did all the cells have all the programming? All the cells have all the programming. So why did certain cells become the liver and other cells become the eyes and other cells become the heart? My chazis that, okay. Interesting point, but actually, yeah. Every cell has the DNA of the whole body, so every mitzvah has mitzvahs connected. A whole aver has the DNA of all the Torah. That's what we also say in the L'Shem Yichud, the Targ mitzvahs hatluyas ba, right? It's as if I should not only did this mitzvah right, but how all the other Targ mitzvahs are totally in it. Okay. Which would explain the Rambam very well. So how one mitzvah done right could make the whole tzelem a ben olam haba. It's nifla mod. Okay, Vine. So now, this is the Reishis Chochma is talking. Me'akiyum noda onesh ala oiver. So now over here the Zohar was talking about in the positive. You do one mitzvah right. It's as if you're mekayim all targ mitzvahs. Mamash, you hear the Rambam in the Pirush Mishnah is so loud when you read that Zohar, right? So from the positive, we could also extrapolate. We could figure out the negative, right? The oynish on anyone who someone who transgresses one mitzvah over kulam, as if he transgressed all the averos, because everything is interconnected. V'hainu. And that is, so now it's very good, with this Raya Mehimna, the message that we get from it, because the Raya is talking just in a positive. But if we extrapolate the negative message from it, You can say chitish lo tasu is kovetz. Yes, the one avera b'shogeg is velo sasu. It's kol mitzvahs. It's as if you violated all the mitzvahs because they're all interconnected. Ubazar, so involved, and another zar in Vayikra, Gimel Rav. Beral pasuk hazeh, so it explains on this pasuk. Nefesh kisechta b'shgaga, a nefesh that doesn't avera b'shgaga. Noda inyan nogea lajush shelanu. So that zar actually says a point that is nogea to this drush that we're in the middle of. Now, even though not all of this zar has to do with the particular point that we're saying right now, but I'm going to track down the whole thing because there's a lot of good toelis for Yira and Tshuva in this zar. Right. And we said, despite the fact that this book is a classic and giving us Yira Shamayim and helping us to do Tshuva, and hopefully we hit a milestone today when we read 32nd session, Lave. We should hopefully a step getting to a Lave Tahor, right? But, this book is all built on Zohar, as we've seen, and the Zohar alone is very misugal for Yira Shamayim and very misugal to get us out of the goals and get us out of all the tsaros. It's one of the main reasons why we chose this book. Okay. So here's Zelushono. What Rashi Bar mentioned, talking about the truth is that the Zohar also goes in the runs parallel to the marriage that we mentioned before, that mentioned before about, body and soul both involved in the sin, but the body is like a peasant that doesn't know much better, and the soul is like from the castle of the king that should know better, and even a shogeg is considered to be a terrible violation because he should know better, right? This is the lashon of the Zohar. V'nefesh ki sechta, right? When a soul will sin, You see where he's going. Rabbi Yossi Pasach. So Rabbi Yossi used to open up when learning this and learning this pasuk and say, this is a famous pasuk that you better do tshuva before the day passes and away go the shadows. It's referring to the day of death. The Rambam brings this in Hilchos Tshuva. How much people should be careful from their sins. Be careful not to sin in front of their master, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because every day and day a baskol, a cruise, a baskol, an announcement comes out and calls out. It's Aru Bnei Alma Lipayu Lekame Magija. Wake up, people of the world, awaken your hearts. Lave 32. Right, awaken your hearts before the Holy King. It's Aru, right? So meaning wake up your heart, meaning pay attention, like Sim Lev, Simu Levavchem, right? Pay attention, awaken the heart, get your heart into it. Right, wake up to be careful of your sins. Isaru nishmasa karisha, wake up the holy soul. The Abigavad Hashem put inside of you, that from a very high place, from a very holy place. Awaken the soul that Hashem put in you which comes from a very place. The Tanir, for we have learned, B'shayta kudsha brichu. We've learned at the time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu apek nishmasa lenachta b'bnei nasha, brings out in the neshama from the kisei covered, to go down into a person, right? Yes, bay become a yudin, so he warns the neshama with a few promises, right? Become a castor, and I think this with a few cops also. That means, he warns the neshama, really very sternly, with the good cop and the bad cop type of thing. Right? He gives him like all the priyud the promises, the positive, what you get, and castor is like all the warnings, of what you're going to get if you don't keep the Torah. Begin not to go, and all this is that the neshama should keep Hashem's mitzvahs. And not only that, the neshama passes through 1,008 and it's 1008 olamis, right? Different worlds. Lishta, to get pleasure from them. And to see in them the glory that's in them. The glory of those who are Amel Batara, those who are Amel Batara, right? Get these 1,008 olamis, right? So you see, the glory of those who are Amel Batara, those are Isaac Batar. Nafka v'kaima coming malka v'usha karsa, now that neshama comes out and stands before Hashem, for the king in a beautiful garment. Well, so but but after it gets that beautiful garment, which I guess, right, I guess, it got charged up. Those beautiful garments got charged up from the trip when these 1,008 olamis. Right, but then, but after so it gets that supercharged, which is all in preparation, for the journey to Earth. Also, the high element, but after that, the neshama now has to get some type of form of this world, to make it compatible with the body that's going to inhabit, and to be on Earth. Right, and with this, great light, it looks at the glory of the king every day, and it gets all crowned up, gets all juiced up. This is all in preparation for being born. Right, that the neshama is warned and educated in the ways that a king sees the glory of the king, that the neshama really should know better, than to sin when it goes down to this world. Neshama shouldn't lose its way when it goes down to this world. So it gets all juiced up this way in preparation coming down this world. So b'shar the matei zinu nachta, that time when it comes the time for the neshama to come down to the world. Avaras Madura beginta the Eden Tlasiam, it first hangs out, it has a place, right, in Gan Eden for 30 days. That's, I guess, your chelik in Gan Eden that you're supposed to re-earn and return to. That's what Chazal talk about. Noto chelko chelik chaver Gan Eden. The guy goofed off. He lost that chelik in Gan Eden. He didn't re-earn it, with his mitzvahs in this world, so someone else could pick it up. But that chelik in Gan Eden, that place that that's prepared for you, actually experience it for 30 days before you're born. And it's all the Mechzei Kardamar and Tzadikaya, to see the glory of the master of the tzaddikim, the glory of Hashem, but over there he's the master of tzaddikim because the tzaddikim there in Gan Eden. The so-called Asra, right, and then and then it goes to its place, right? Ubasa, after having hanging out in Gan Eden, it goes to its place. Ubasa da nachata salma, and after it goes to its, as it were, natural place, after being juiced up in its place, it's chelik in Gan Eden that it prepared for itself. It goes, it goes to, goes back to its natural place because that place in Gan Eden hasn't been earned yet. Ubasa nachtalam, and after that it goes down to the world. Ate Malko Shiva Itrin ad asis vows, now even on the way down, Koshko gives the neshama 7 crowns until it actually goes into the body, the barnash of a person. Right? Right? So look how much, you say the neshama should know better. Why should neshama know better? Look how it was given so much spiritual energy in preparation for its journey to this world. Of course, the neshama should know better. V'tovas b'alma, the neshama sits in this world, v'shtaz b'chashochaha, right? And then the neshama just gets busy with the darkness of this world, Making a living is the least of it, It's like all the other bad stuff, right? The neshama, after all being prepared and all juiced up, all trained, for the journey, for the mission, and then, comes to this world and it's mishtadel in darkness, and the Torah wonders about the neshama and says, so what happened to all this glory and all this perfection that was Hashem, with which Hashem perfected the nefesh, V'chavas command, still after all that, the nefesh sins before him, and that's nefesh ki techta. Right, that's nefesh ki techta. The Torah's like nefesh ki techta, like The Medrash said the same thing. Question mark, exclamation point. Huh? How can a nefesh sin after all this, energy that was invested in it, in preparation for coming to this world? How did it sin? That's nefesh kitachta. How did it happen? So the Zohar goes on and says, Amar Rabbi Yossi, says Rabbi Yossi, nefesh kisechta, when nefesh sins, hadrana likara, right? Hadrana likra, excuse me. I will go back to the pasuk, right? Ad shefuach hayam, do it before the day passes, right? Ita l'hai nefesh, that pasuk in Navi is giving an eitzah for the nefesh, please. Dara mechovah, be careful from sinning. V'teitov l'adakah, and be quick to go back to purification, right? Which is do tshuva shefuach hayom, right? Until the day shouldn't blow away. Right? Actually, that day refers to your life in this world. Like the Ram brings this also in Hilchos Tshuva. This pasuk refers to actually until your life passes. The day is the day you live in this world. Because there might come that strong day, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to demand din at the time when he takes the neshama out of this world. V'nasuat slolim, and all the shadows will run away. What does that refer to? Dahu Raza the Chavraya. This is referring to the secret of the friends. The Ka'amri, right, that say, his friends that say, B'shaitim matazim the barnashav kam alma. Right, I mean, this is the Raz of the Chaver, meaning, I'm learning, as I always say, I'm learning this with you in real time. I did not prepare that. This is the Raz of the Chaver, meaning the Chabura, the Chaverim that learn Sod, have touched up. There's the secret that they said to touch up V'nasu Aslolim. Right, so the Amri, the Chaverim say regarding this pasuk, when it comes the time of a person to leave this world, the tzelem, right? That's the tzlolim, miloshin tzelem. Your tzelem elokim that you have, is removed from you. And that's what it says. The day passes, ad yinshaf yoma, until like the evening comes that takes away the day. The nafkayama, right? That now it's time for the man to leave this world. V'nasu atzolim, and all the tzlolim, the shades, which means the tzelim. It's arbet sulma. He loses its tzelim. Yasu kamei more, and he sits before his master. Right, and then that's a davar yadua. A person loses its tzelim and then he dies, and that's this is other zohars. And the Ramban Kayadua, who also had the Zohar before it was publicized, says it on the pasuk Tsar Tzilam. That with the Meraglim, Yoshua and Kov, at least when they reported truth, said that they there's no tzelim on the Shiva Amamin. That means they're toast, and that's what happens on. What you could tell on Leil Shana Rabbah and the Tzel Hayarech, get it Tzel Lashon Tzelem. If a shadow cast by moonlight, you don't see your head. It means you're dead meat that year. You lost your Tzelem. Tzelem Lashon Tzel. Right, and the moonlight shadow on the night of Hoshana Rabbah is where you could take a look at your shadow and see how much tzelem you have and what's missing. And if you have no head on it, and that's why the Ramah advocates, don't do it. It'll just freak you out, and you're not going to be on your A game to be better. Although the Svarim say a lot of people used to go out and dafka check, and one guy, went out one night, saw, one Hoshana Rabbah night, saw that no head on his moonlight shadow, and he did tshuva the rest of the night, and the whole shmini, and then on Shmini Atzeres, he saw in the moonlight that he had a full shadow. He was zocher to restore his tzelem. So some people just the opposite. Go out and see if you have more work to be done. Okay, dua. The tzelem, which is actually the meta system that holds body and soul together. What holds body and soul together? The tzelem. That's what we learned before. Earlier in the Zohar, that the neshama has to get a diukna the high alma in order to be able to get into the body. and and dwell on earth. That Yukad Alma, that's part and parcel of what we call the tselem, and when a person loses its tselem and then he dies, because the system that holds body and soul together is removed, so then they do part. So Rabbi Lezer Omer, so Rabbi Lezer says, Tzrei Tzumin, Naswatzon, there's two tzelamim. Islay Lebarnash, Kat Yubikiyuma. A person has two tzelems when he lives. Chad Rabba Chad has a big tzelem, he has a small tzelem. Umishtaki Kachada, right? And then you have the big tzelem and a small tzelem together, and they coexist. At the time of your life, Kedenu Barashkim, and that's when a person's alive. Valdav and Nasu Atzon Ksiv, and that's Nasu Atzon. I'm guessing that the big tzelem and the small tzelem alludes to your tzelem of this world. It's your small tzelem and your tzelem of your refined tzelem that you'll have by Tchias HaMesim. That again, body and soul make a comeback, but in a much higher form. That we are of the opinion, not like the Rambam, that body and soul together and that higher tzelem could even not just be resurrected, but even go to Olam Haba. So that's the big tzelem, right? So you have one is actual, one is potential, right? We spoke about this in our Sefer on Parashas Toldos. We have a whole piece on it, right? So you have two tzelems, one big one, one small one. When you're alive, you have both of them. The one which is actual for this world, the one that you're building up in potential for the world to come. Well, right? And but at the day you die, both tzelemim have to leave you at that point, to do away with the current version of you. Well, Kedaim boy Barash at that time, oh man, you better as you're about to lose your tzom, you better as that's happening, you better look at your or in preparation for that. A person should look at his actions. L'taktalon, and to fix them kaimar in front of his master, Yodola, and do video on them. Begin to kutcha brichu ikre rachon. Now, the is called rachon v'chanon. Umakablin the tavin kameh, and he receives those who do tshuva before him. So that's what the pasuk means. Until the day passes and your tzlomim, your big one and your small one, the one for Olam Hazeh and the one for Olam Haba, before they leave you, the kivdin and tzlomim is because when you lose those tzlomim, viu toughest bekolara, and then you're caught in the in the vice, right? You have like the noose around your neck. So right, so tshuva right? So now you have to do tshuva. Is in the time. So now you could do tshuva as you're dying, but it's not as good as if you do tshuva while you're fully alive. So it's amazing how this is all. It's amazing how all this could be heard in the words of the Rambam. It's amazing. The Rambam, must have had the Zohar. He also says that even though if you do tshuva on the day you die or as you're dying, it's tshuva. But it would be better if you did it when you were able-bodied. You could really do life over again while you're still able-bodied. You could easily do this, and you don't, right? It's mamish the lashon of Rambam. Tshuva avolo ma'it. Since Rambam says tshuva avol, it's not a tshuva mu'ula. Right, when you're standing and you're fully healthy. And calls out and says, remember Hashem, your creator, when you're still young. I love all your until you don't have the bad days of Gomer. Right, it's all amazing. This is all, you could hear this all in the Lashon Rambam in Perek Beis of Hilchos Tshuva. Until that day passes, a person has to fix his actions. The Kamatin Yom Yisrael, because when those days come to leave the world, Kutchabrichu Toel Ribosham, so wonders about Vomer, and it says Nefesh Kisachos Shamakol when there's a passing by Korban Shvua. Right, where nefesh will sin and it will hear a voice of swearing, right? V'shamakol, it heard the voice that was mashbia it, that made it take an oath. V'omnei b'omnei shmi deloy shakabi. I mean, this refers to before it was born. I made the nefesh swear by my name, not to be unfaithful. V'sadas bei kadachso, and I warned it, before it came down to this world. Who aid, and the nefesh was a witness. Vadaim, it comes in. Das is the natural good. Who aid. This could possibly about korban shvua that you're being mashbia and aid that he should come and be made for you. So who aid, as far as darshan, who aid right? Right, that the nefesh was witness. Vadai for sure. Mikama Zimnin. A few times I say not begude, and I wanted to keep my mitzvahs. Begin kach, and therefore, v'kabanash aid, since the person himself was a witness that Hashem warned him before being born, right? Ata b'shaita Yosef Kalmalka. Now at this time when he's sitting before the king after he's died, Ora Yoda, right? Or so Pasuk goes on, or he saw or he knew. Talking about the witness. Did he see? Did he know? Ora in chovin davadis takubahu. Right. These are the sins that he did, and he saw them. He saw exactly what he was doing. Oh, yada bebirur the mil the avar dara, because right. So it's like some things that you could see you're doing wrong, something like that. You figure out if you would have clarified that you're doing wrong, right? Right. So there's like stuff that's obviously wrong, and there is some stuff, right? Right. There's some stuff. Excuse me. Just have to. Right. So some stuff, that you if you would have thought, you would have known better. If you don't say, meaning if you're not going to be motive before your master, maksiv. What does it say? So what does it say? Vinasavono. When you leave this world, you're going to carry sin. Vikadisavono. And when he carries a sin, open up for him. How is he going to stand before his master? You're carrying sin. How are you going to get into heaven? That's why when the soul will sin, this is the words of the Zohar. Okay, I have to run. I have a bit of a ticklish situation. All right, but Mazel Tov on the 32 days, 32 sessions. We both should help. We should be Zocha to Leiv Tahar.